And we're back in the world of the big poker scandal. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use. And while poker is the gift that keeps on giving, two sets of words to look at in this video. We're going to look at Robbi Jade Lew and a new character, a guy called Brian, who has become involved in the story. We've done poker before. I wasn't that keen on doing it again, but then I thought about this, and actually, what I like is when people come away from watching one of these videos, they've learned some skills about how to look at the words that people use around them. And kind of luckily, most of us will never be asked to investigate a murder and look at the words used there. Most of us will never have to try and find a missing person or what happened to a missing person. So this, the poker story, I think, is a bit more relatable. I mean, in your life, have you come across someone that you think is breaking the rules or is cheating and you'd like to be a bit better informed about what it is that they're saying to you? Has someone ever reached out to you and you think, what's this person really want? We're going to look at all of those things in this video. Hopefully you'll come away with some learnings about how to look at the words that people use, and I've got some top tips at the end of the video if someone reaches out to you and how you can work out what it is that they really want from you. So Brian is on the way, a guy called Bryan Sagbigsal, who has apparently stolen some chips on the night in question. This poker story just gets crazier as it goes on. But first, we're going to look at Robbi Jade Lew again. Looked at her in the last video, looked at her words, and I found her to be hugely deceptive when talking about the hand where it's alleged that she cheated. She's not being honest and straightforward about how that hand went down. And that's deceptive. Was she cheating? I was a bit on the fence about that, to be honest with you. She definitely was deceptive, but does that mean she's cheating? Not really. It just means she could be hiding something else. She was missing a bit of emotion, especially about winning the hand and about pulling one over this guy, Garrett, who she obviously didn't like very much. She didn't have anything to verbalize her emotions on that. And I got the feeling she knew she was going to win. There was no surprise to her that she won beyond, like feeling that she had a good hand or she had a winning hand or she'd read this guy correctly. But cheating, a little bit less so. So let's have a look at her latest words. And what's happened is that Garrett has released this huge big statement making lots of allegations about how Robbie cheated in the hand that she beat him in. And this is Robbie's statement in response to what Garrett has said. She starts off saying, "I have unfortunately taken the time to read through Garrett's novel. As expected, I found it to be full of inaccuracies and conjecture." Right off the bat, I'm really interested in why she uses the phrase inaccuracies and conjecture. And she separates them out. They're two different things. So it's not inaccurate conjecture, it's inaccuracies and conjecture. What are inaccuracies? Well, they're not exactly lies, are they? They're not falsehoods. They're not made up things. They are, when something's inaccurate, it's just not quite right. It's not 100% right. But we don't really use inaccurate when something is 100% wrong, do we? We'd say that's a lie or that's false or that's just not right. Inaccuracy means closer to the truth than the complete out and out lie. And then she splits that up from conjecture. So like I said, she hasn't said it's inaccurate conjecture. So what's conjecture? Well, conjecture is something that we say when we're not aware or we're not solid on what all the facts are. It's something that we think could have happened. Again, that doesn't mean that it's false. It's something that we think is possible that's happened. And she doesn't knock that down. She just says it's conjecture. She doesn't say false conjecture, stupid conjecture, or anything like that. She just calls it conjecture. Interesting. Robbie goes on to say, "Regarding the theft, I will say this one more time and only one more time. I have no relationship with this now former employee, Brian. And I would challenge anybody reviewing the security footage to show otherwise. I will not address the individual videos and timestamps as they are nothing new and simply a regurgitation of more of the same poo emoji." I know she says, I have no relationship with this employee, Brian. So she's talking about the present tense. She doesn't rule out the fact, and in her words, she doesn't rule out the fact that there could have been a past relationship with Brian. She just says right now, as she writes this at that present time, I have no relationship with him. Why did she word it like that? And then this is something that Robbie does a lot. She says a statement, so I have no relationship, and then she offers some evidence to back up this statement, and this is that it doesn't show on the security footage that she has a relationship with Brian. But that's really not evidence that she doesn't have a relationship with Brian. She could have gone out for a meal with Brian every night for the past 5 weeks. It wouldn't be on the security footage in question. So it's not evidence, it's not hard evidence of the fact they have no relationship, but she feels that she can put this out there as evidence, which maybe is a little bit of immaturity in her thoughts, or maybe she's very, very qualified about the words that she's using. Next from Robbie, my accusers, having now exhausted buzzing seats, camera rings, microphone water bottles and other spy paraphernalia, have now moved on to me having an alleged conspiring relationship with someone I do not know, who in fact stole from me. Something else Robbie is very good at is talking about the more fantastical accusations that have been thrown at her, and a lot have been thrown at her, to be fair. Some bizarre ways that she could have cheated in this poker game, and she's quite good at addressing them and bringing them out. Maybe she likes picking on the ones that are so bizarre they couldn't be true, because she feels that qualifies, that strengthens her case that she couldn't have cheated, because all these accusations are frankly bonkers. I mean, you look at them, they're buzzing seats, microphone water bottles. They are a little bit bonkers. What she doesn't do is deny that any of them are true. She doesn't say the stupid things, these farcical things, these completely untrue allegations that have been put there, this just complete nonsense. She doesn't say any of that. She gets them out and talks about them. And it's the same thing here. She just says it's an alleged conspiring relationship with someone I don't know, who in fact stole from me. Hey, people steal from people they know all the time. She doesn't say, again, this is false. She just says it's an alleged and conspiring relationship. Robbie says, there is zero evidence that I cheated simply because I did not. I have been thrust into a bizarre situation where I am being asked to prove my innocence continually, and as of yet there is not a single thread of direct evidence illustrating my guilt. That first sentence is something I've been looking for Robbie to say a lot. Because it's really hard to prove a negative. It's really hard to prove you didn't cheat, because there's nothing there to say that you didn't cheat, because nothing extraordinary happened. There's no evidence that you didn't cheat. There can't be. You played fairly and squarely. And this is the first time she's come out and said that it's really hard to prove a negative. She says it in the words, there's zero evidence that I cheated simply because I did not. Now, I would have liked to have heard it a little bit differently. I'd like to have heard it with the cheat first and the zero evidence second, or did not cheat first and zero evidence second, because the ordering there, what was most important would be I do not cheat, not there's zero evidence. But I'm reassured by some of this. I think this is one of the strongest denials that I've heard from Robbie, and I've looked at a lot of Robbie's words. She then says, I have been thrust into a bizarre situation. And this is very interesting. She's speaking freely. I don't think she's chosen her words very carefully in this part at all. But she's saying, I have been thrust into a bizarre situation, which suggests that she feels that the reason she's in this situation is someone else's actions, not hers, or some other events, because I have been thrust suggests the actions of someone else going on there. And I found that really, really interesting. It's not blaming someone else for being there. It's just her letting slip in her language that something else or someone else is responsible for her being in this bizarre situation. I said I was reassured by the there is zero evidence because I did not. She doesn't say that I did not cheat, by the way. She says there's zero evidence that I cheated simply because I did not. I'd prefer to hear her say I didn't cheat. Never mind. It's fairly reassuring, especially compared to a lot of what Robbie has said. But then there's some weak and qualified bits here. I'm being asked to prove my evidence continually, and as of yet, there is not a single thread of direct evidence illustrating my guilt. As of yet? Does that mean there could be? She certainly seems open to the possibility with the words as of yet. It's not, and there is not. It's as of yet, there is not. And I found her, that's quite qualified. That almost says to me that she thinks there's more to come here. And not a single thread of direct evidence illustrating my guilt. Does that mean there's indirect evidence illustrating her guilt? Why does she have to qualify it by saying direct evidence? Is that maybe some of the conjecture is close to the mark? I don't know, but it's interesting that in this last sentence of that first paragraph on your screen, she's qualified twice what it is that she's saying. She then says, I am scheduled to take a lie detector test despite the fact I have already been vindicated by behavioural analysts considered to be the best in the world. And this is another, what I think is her immaturity and thoughts around this. Behavioural analysts may be the best in the world. They won't vindicate you. Nah, not at all. They'll give their opinion. It may be a highly qualified opinion. It may be based on a lot of scientific research, but it's only an opinion. It's not a vindication that you didn't cheat. Robbie continues, I will continue my ongoing effort to prove my innocence, so I ask that you patiently wait for the investigation to complete. For those who continue to stand with me, thank you. Your outpouring of love and support has given me the strength and hope I need to make it through this. Effort's an interesting word there. I will continue my ongoing effort to prove my innocence. Effort suggests trying, but being open to the fact that you may not succeed. I make an effort to work out 3 times a week. I make an effort to go to a gym class once a week, a yoga class once a week even, sorry. I make an effort to make one of these videos once a week. I really want to do these things, but I'm open to the fact that I may not succeed to do them. That's why I say it's an effort. Tell you what, I will have a coffee tomorrow morning, first thing, because I always have a coffee tomorrow morning. I will always have a coffee first thing in the morning. I don't use the word effort. I don't say I will make an effort to have a cup of coffee in the morning, because I will always have a coffee in the morning. So I'm interested in why that weak word effort was chosen there. And then the truth will be liberating and will bring this exhausting process to an end. Well, she doesn't say who the truth will be liberating for. Will it be liberating for her or someone else? And also the truth will be. That's in the future. So is the truth in the future? Well, Robbie's spoken a lot about what has gone on and that she didn't cheat and the events of the night in question. And so I would expect her to talk about the truth as in is liberating, not will be liberating. So is there more to come? So that's Robbie's statement analysed. My conclusions on this, there is more to come out about this for sure. It's the recurring theme that comes through in her words, the as of yet, the no direct evidence when she talks about conjecture, and she will only make an effort to prove her innocence. But did she cheat? I know that's a big question. Everyone wants to know. I've written down here, did she cheat? I don't know. But her denials are very qualified, and the logic when she makes a statement to back up her statement is very, very limited. If I had to make a guess, a real guess, I think that something more is to come out, and Robbie considers that this will be someone else was involved in this, that she considers they were the one that did the cheating and she was the front person for whatever happened, almost like an innocent bystander, while someone else did the cheating. That, at this point, would be my best guess. So that's Robbie's statement looked at. Listen, if you like this video, then please press the like button. Not only will it make me happy, but also it means that more people find this video, which I'd really appreciate. You could share it as well if you want on social media. That would go down well. Get involved in the comments below if you've got any comments on the words that Robbie has used. And if you hit the subscribe button and that little bell thing, you'll get some notifications when more videos like this come out. So let's go on to Bryan Sagbigsal. And he worked at the casino, and he was discovered that he'd stolen some of Robbie's chips on the night in question. I mean, this night just gets more and more bizarre, and I think there's more still to come. So Bryan lost his job, and he sent Robbie a DM, which she has screenshotted and shared on her Twitter feed. I think with Bryan's permission. I don't think there was anything underhand about that. And He's reached out to her, but why has he reached out? We know what the words say, but what's going on underneath? This is probably exactly the situation you will find yourself in at points in your life. Someone gets in touch with you and you think, what is it that they really want? How do we decode that from the words? What to do is look at the priorities. So how does this message order things? What comes first will be most important. And also, what gets mentioned a lot? What gets mentioned more times than other things? That will really help if you notice that, work out what's going on. So let's have a look at Brian's words. And the DM starts, "Hi, Robbie. My name is Brian. I'm the kid who stole 3 chips off your stack. I was working, but now I'm fired. I'm in a really bad place financially and my debt was adding up. I'm only 24 with 2 kids and have no education. I got desperate and I honestly didn't know whose stack I took the 3 chips off, but it happened to be yours. Robbie, I believe you." So the first thing he mentions is key, and it's an introduction. "Hi, Robbie. My name is Brian. I'm the kid who stole 3 chips off your stack." So it's my name, and this is my relationship to you. This is how you know me. Then he moves into his sob story, how bad his life is. "I was working, now I'm fired, I'm in a really bad place financially, debt adding up, I'm only 24, 2 kids, I have no education, and I got desperate." Look at how many times he mentions himself there as well. So the most important thing for him is to get across what a bad place he is in. I was working, I'm fired, I'm in a really bad place, my debt, I'm only 24, I have no education, I got desperate. So to this position that he's in, or getting across the position that he's in, and himself are very important to him. I'm interested that he says, "I'm the kid and I'm only 24, as if he's trying to make himself look young. Oh, young people, they're foolish. They deserve a second chance, don't they? Young people, they make mistakes. He's old enough to have 2 kids. He's old enough to have a job, but he describes himself as a kid and his age as only 24. We're a paragraph in and I haven't seen any sorry for stealing from you yet, which is interesting. And then towards the end of that screenshot there, he says, "I honestly didn't know." And when someone says honestly, or to tell the truth, or to be honest with you, I always say, look at what follows. Chances are it's a bit dodgy, that either it's entirely deceptive or it's not entirely true, and therefore someone wants to flag it up as being honest. Look, I'm telling you this honestly, so you should believe it. They're trying to convince you, persuade you that what's coming next is honest. And he says, honestly, I honestly didn't know whose stack I took the 3 chips off of, but it happened to be yours. I don't believe you, Brian, to be honest. I think you, to be honest, I think you potentially did know whose stack you took the chips off, but you don't. Your motivation here is to make sure that Robbie thinks good things about you. Brian then says, "Somebody who was so kind to give back the money to the crybaby Garrett and kind enough to spare me wouldn't not be as nice as you are. I don't think you cheated. I never did. I think everyone is fucking stupid and they're defaming an honest person's name because these pros can't fathom how you read the amazing cash game player for shit and called him." This doesn't flow as well as the previous bit. I actually believed the previous bit in terms of how he described the circumstances in his life. I think there's reasons for him mentioning it up front, which we'll come to, but I believe it. It was very straightforward and direct. But look here, double negatives, typos, it just doesn't flow. It's not as straight as the part where he was talking about how hard his life is. He says, "I don't think you cheated. I never did." Now, this was written about 2 weeks after the event. Those are words I would expect someone to use years after an event, like to O.J. Simpson. "I don't think you did it, and I never did." Not after 2 weeks. I think this is him working too hard to get into Robbie's good books and say, not just, "I don't think you're a cheat. I never thought you were a cheat. Never for a moment did I doubt you." That's the first page of the screen. Oh, sorry, wait a minute. Also, there's some anger in there as well, isn't there? The crybaby Garrett and the pros in inverted commas there. There's some anger there about the people he's been working with, which will become relevant later. But that's the first page of the screenshot that Robbie put on her Twitter. And the definite vibe that he has got is, "Feel sorry for me. My life is very hard. And hey, I'm on your side. I hate Garrett too. And I don't think you cheated and I believe you. So I'm either starting to think that he's desperate. This is a desperate move from someone looking for something from her, or he's being manipulative because he started with himself and he uses I a lot. So he is at the center of what he is saying here. On the next page, you 100% had the power to press charges, but you chose not to, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. I'm really, really genuinely sorry. So this is page 2 before we get to the sorry. I'm really, really genuinely sorry from the bottom of my heart for stealing. I made a split-second decision, and that has now ruined my reputation and caused me to lose my only source of income. My life is fucked even if I never have to spend a minute in jail. Look at that apology. It's not, I'm sorry for stealing from you. It's he's really, really genuinely sorry from the bottom of his heart for stealing. He's overly trying to persuade how sorry he is. And why would that be? Possibly because he's not really that sorry. His motive for sending this is not to say sorry and apologize. And if it was, it would be much higher up in his order of priorities. I don't think he is genuinely sorry. Someone who has to tell you they are genuinely something, potentially, they're not genuinely something. So I don't think he is genuinely sorry. I think he only wants to appear genuinely sorry. But all those persuasive words, really, really genuinely from the bottom of my heart, sorry. And then as soon as he said sorry, he goes back into how hard his life is. It's like a spit on the side. I'm really sorry, but anyway, my life is really hard. Ruined my reputation, caused me to lose my only source of income. My life is fucked, even if I never have to spend a minute in jail. And look at the ordering of how his life is messed up by this. Most important thing to him is ruined reputation. Then it's lost his income. Then it's how his life is screwed, even if he doesn't have to spend a minute in jail. This potentially is someone who's been in trouble before and realizes if you say sorry and tell people, oh, look how hard my life is and these are all the reasons why I did the bad thing, you will get a second chance. I think there's some experience going on in here. Again, I'm glad you understand pressing charges would only have made my life worse. I wish you were here so I could give you a huge hug and tell you I'm actually sorry. Again, this, I think, is the words of someone who says sorry and doesn't mean it. Says sorry to get off with things rather than genuinely being having sorrow about it, because he says, I'm actually sorry. Is there another way of being sorry, Brian? Can you be unactually sorry? I think potentially you are. And once again, we're back into how hard his life was. And I believe these things. I grew up poor. It said straightforward. I still am really straightforward. I was left at 18 to fend for myself, straightforward. My mom was a meth addict and my dad and I have a rocky relationship. So I believe these things that he says, but the fact that he's back into them is just so, this is, I think his big priority is this. I also think his big priority is saying this so that he can manipulate Robbie to take certain actions. Being at the poker table for me was an escape. Being at the casino was the only sense of home that I felt. I want you to remember that part. Being at the poker table for me was an escape. Being at the casino was the only sense of home that I felt. Then he goes on to say, back to feeling sorry. My life fucking sucks. I was slaving away at HCL, getting paid bare minimum and getting used by them to help them accomplish their goals of starting the show. Well, which one was it, Brian? Was being at the casino the only sense of home that you felt? Was being at the poker table an escape from your rubbish life? But then when you get there, you're a slave, you're getting paid bare minimum and getting used? Contradictory there. So, listen, the truth will always out if you look at the words. And man, he has a chip on his shoulder and a half. This is an angry guy. Look at, he called Crybaby Garrett and so on. And now he's having a right pop at the job that he had. He's trying to say that he's lost the only thing that was an escape for him and his only sense of home. But when he describes it, he doesn't, I just wanted to reach out personally and say thank you for saving my life. Now, the word just, when someone just says they just wanted to do something, just minimizes what's going on. Think about, you're going for a night out and there's a friend that you're not entirely sure is going to turn up. You'll text them and say, I just wanted to make sure you're coming out tonight. And there's a whole lot more going on behind that, just, isn't there? You're worried that they're not going to turn up. You're not just checking, you're checking. You're really checking. You're checking up on them. You're not just checking. So I don't think he just wanted to reach out and say thank you for saving my life. Also, from your description, you've lost your reputation, your life is ruined, you've lost your only source of income, the place that felt like home, but you saved his life. Interesting, Brian, interesting. Thank you for sparing me. Thank you for getting me out of that toxic workplace. Well, how does that work? She's had nothing to do with you getting out of the toxic workplace. You decided to steal her chips. You got caught. You got fired from the toxic workplace. Notice again, it was the place that gave him a sense of home. It was his escape, but then it was a toxic workplace. But more than that, why is he saying thank you for getting me out of that toxic workplace? Look, there's some indication, some allegations that they colluded. And potentially that's what it is. I don't believe that for a second. I think this is him just wanting to say sorry and thank you, but not having real and genuine words to say it with, because he's not sorry and he has nothing to thank her for. So he's writing just any old gibberish. Thank you for getting me out of that toxic workplace. Thank you for changing my outlook on kindness and having a genuine heart means. That doesn't make sense. Again, an indication that it's not heartfelt when there's this sort of, when it's clunky, when there's typos or words missing. Look, I make typos all the time. You will as well. It doesn't mean you're lying, but in a general sense, when they go with some clunky language and so on, it means that potentially someone is not feeling it. The same theme again. I'm behind you 100% and always have been. Well, good on you, Brian. And then he goes on to offer to make up the money by doing some work. Brian's being manipulative. That is my conclusion. His hard time is the most important thing to him. He mentions it first after he's introduced himself, and then he mentions it lots and lots. It's very believable. He is, in a jam, but it's very important to him, and it's very important to him to get the sympathy for it as well. He wants to make sure that Robbie feels sorry for him. I think at the time he wrote this, Robbie had decided not to press charges, but I think now Robbie potentially has decided to press charges. He wants her just to feel sorry for him, but when he says sorry to her and when he says thank you, it feels really a lot less genuine. So ultimately, this is him trying to manipulate her perception of him and to manipulate her actions regarding him as well. So some tips for you. If someone reaches out to you and you're thinking, what is it they want? Are they being sincere? Are they being manipulative? Here's some really quick tips to follow. Look at what it is they mention first. After they say hello and introduce themselves, if they need to, whatever they say first, that is their number one priority. Then look at the order things come after that. Things will be in the order that people consider the most important. And then look at what they go back to most and repeat. It might be like Brian has. I mean, he just kept going back to how hard his life is almost inside every other sentence. It could be as simple as someone mentions something first and they mention it last, but whatever is repeated is most important to them, or it's what they really want to get across to you. Then read it, and which parts flow and feel easy and which parts are more clunky and hard to understand. When I was reading out Brian's words there, when I was reading out his words about how hard his life is, I was absolutely fine with them. Then when he was saying thank you or explaining things, I was stumbling over them because they didn't make a lot of sense. And if you can't read it out loud, just read it and try and understand it. If you get it first time, there's a bigger chance that it's truthful. Because if it flows and you don't have to look at it and go, what the hell does that mean? If it's hard to understand, then potentially that's not sincere. That's not genuine. I hope those tips helped you. Neveratruerword.com is the website. If you have a look at that, you'll be able to see more tips on how to understand what people are saying to you with their words and some write-ups on some true crime stories and people in the news. The Linktree address on your screen and in the description below is how to get hold of me on the socials. And what words should we look at next? Maybe not poker ones. I mean, it is the gift that keeps on giving, though. I'd maybe quite happily look at those. Drop them in the comments or get in touch on social media if you've got any suggestions of words to be analysed. If you want to further upskill yourself, there's a couple of books that you can buy which are full of information on how to understand what people's words truly mean, whether they're being truthful, whether they're being deceptive, and what it is that they want you to do on hearing their words, and how you can understand just a little bit more about what is being said all around you. And if you like true crime, the Words of West Cork podcast is available. Link in the description below. It looks at an unsolved murder from Ireland, excuse me, in the 1990s. And the words from the people at the heart of the investigation. And on this channel, there's more videos that you might like and you might also learn something from as well. And we'll see you soon for another video from Never a Truer Word.